Well, hello, Michael here, looking at Psalms 44, specifically verse 2 for the exposition. This psalm, which is subtitled, Come to Our Help. And we're just going to read the first two verses then. Psalms 44, verse 1. We have heard with our ears, O God, our fathers have told us, what work thou didst in their days, in the times of old. In verse 2. How thou didst drive out the heathen with thy hand, and plantedst them. How thou didst afflict the people, and cast them out. And so we look to the treasure of David for the exposition. Verse 2, exposition. How thou didst drive out the heathen with thy hand. The destruction of the Canaanites from the promised land is the work here brought to remembrance. A people numerous, warlike, gigantic, and courageous, firmly established and strongly fortified, were driven out by a far feebler nation because the Lord was against them in the fight. It is clear from Scripture that God sent a plague so that the land ate up the inhabitants thereof, and also a visitation of hornets against the Canaanites, and by other means dispirited them, so that the easy victories of Joshua were but the results of God's having worked beforehand against the idolatrous nation. And plantedst them. The tribes of Israel were planted in the places formerly occupied by the heathen. Hivites and Jebusites were chased from their cities to make room for Ephraim and Judah. The great wonder worker tore up by the roots the oaks of Bashan, that he might plant instead thereof his own chosen vineyard of red wine. How thou didst afflict the people. With judgments and plagues the condemned nations were harassed. By fire and sword they were haunted to the death, till they were all expelled, and the enemies of Israel were banished far away. And cast them out. This most probably refers to Israel, and should be read, caused them to increase. He who troubled his enemies smiled on his friends. He meted out vengeance to the ungodly nations, but he reserved of his mercy for the chosen tribes. How fair is mercy when she stands by the side of justice. Bright beams the star of grace amid the night of wrath. It is a solemn thought that the greatness of divine love has its counterpart in the greatness of his indignation. The weight of mercy bestowed on Israel is balanced by the tremendous vengeance which swept the thousands of Amorites and Hittites down to hell with the edge of the sword. Hell is as deep as heaven is high, and the flame of Tophet is as everlasting as the blaze of the celestial glory. God's might, as shown in deeds both of mercy and justice, should be called to mind in troublous times as a stay to our fainting faith. Trust you enjoyed the meditation. Michael here declaring yet again, Jesus is Lord. Until next time, be blessed.